Hello, welcome to your reading today. So everyone, we're going to be continuing with the sovereignty, so staying in your sovereignty, and this reading is going to be in regards to your thoughts, so remaining sovereign in your thoughts or your mind. There's a lot of thoughts and feelings, right, as the last one was in your emotions, that they all play a part in how we respond and how we see the world. So I really wanted to focus in on remaining sovereign, remaining with yourself, remaining, sovereign to your own feelings, thoughts, and not giving away any kind of power. So you can see this is another empowerment. I'm just going to keep calling it remaining sovereign because I feel like that's true. And when we're in a good place, we know what we're going to respond with, right? We don't really blurt out anything or say things that are harmful or hurt or cutting to detract ourselves or detract others from whatever the topic is. And when we're out of our, I don't want to say out of our mind, but out of body or out of our thoughts, out of our norm, then we can start to say things and do things that we don't really feel true, but we just don't feel like we have any other way of doing it because it's chaotic, right? So anywho, this is going to be on remaining sovereign in your thoughts. So let's get some piles out. Okay, I'll take this one. Okay, just trying to find a spot where the light's gonna flicker on one just because of the time of the day. And I've had to. We've got a lot of contractors around today. It's a very busy day outside, so it might be a little noisy, but we'll get through it. So for pile 1, you have the blue lace agate with kindness, good communication, peaceful outcomes, love and marriage. Okay. For pile 2, you have citrine, wealth, enhanced career prospects, self-esteem and manifestation. And for pile 3, you have Lapis Lazuli with prophetic dreams, releasing anger, serenity, and grace. Prophetic. It's a tough one. Anyway, so these will be the 3 piles. Take your time, choose whichever one calls to you. Think in your mind that this is about how to stay sovereign with my thoughts, the things that race around in my head from time to time, the kind of busyness of the mind. So yeah, I'll let you pick. Down in the description below, you can find the timestamp so you can jump straight to your video. Other than that, I'll leave you to pick your pile and I'll see you in your reading. Hello, welcome to your reading pile number 1. So you've chosen the blue lace agate. It says the keywords of kindness, good communication, peaceful outcomes, and love and marriage. So let's take a look at what your reading's going to be about, but these all feel like the more positive sides, right, of our mind and where we can sit in when we're really clear, focused, and balanced. Because this love and marriage and peaceful outcomes, good communication, kindness, it all feels like the softer side, but also the very balanced, right, the very center of many of our thoughts or feelings or anything like that. So it's a really nice one coming through that you've picked. So I'll grab some cards and then we'll see what your message is, because this is all about remaining sovereign. The cards that I've chosen today too, I don't really, it's weird, it's hard to say I don't think. I do think about it, but I'm not really picking by trying to calculate some kind of like mathematical equation, right? The cards that I've picked was, this one is, what is this called? The children's spirit animal. Like while it is predominantly made for children, it's like, it really touches on the imagination of like childlike thoughts, and the creator's like a child psychologist, so really interesting one here. This one's a friend's deck who he's created based off, I guess, like his imagination, right, of what he's kind of like felt he wanted to insert into a video game and also into cards. And then here is my cards, which I got from my own intuition, right? So it's very much all the cards, even this one's an anime. So there's a lot of like childlike energy coming through with this. And I feel like while I've intended this to be about thoughts, and we normally go through mind, logic, all that kind of stuff, it's also imagination. So imagination is coming through huge in this one. It's kind of like inner child, maybe even letting that one play. So we'll see what comes through. It's an interesting energy straight away though. That while this is mind, do not forget that this is also our creative aspect and our imagination. That's where we get the kind of light coming through, right, from the top of our head down through our body. That's where it hits first, and that's where our crown chakra is, the third eye. You know, it's all that kind of energy coming through. Okay. Now these ones will be upright in reverse. I'm just going to read them upright. If there's anything that I feel like I need to say about it when it comes out reversed, if they do, then I will. Okay. Take that out first. Since this one wanted a leap, I just move them over. I might grab a few. And that kind of idea of what I was talking about with letting that inner child out, you've got the Four of Discs, which kind of like touches on, you know, balance. There's an idea of when you get to this point in the earth kind of realm, or the disc pentacle kind of realm, it's when we are starting to either overspend, right, or spend too much, or when we're holding things back and we're hoarding. So it's kind of like extremes. So when we can really pick up on this when we start to become more isolated, or start to think more negatively, or think overly, maybe even overly positive, right? And I think that's more touching on dismissive in our mind, dismissing some of the thoughts and ideas, being like, oh, they're just silly. I think that's where that idea is coming from. So we'll have a look anyway. We're going to pull some cards. First, we'll start over here, and then I'll come back to these. But just because the Four of Discs came out first, it's just coming through with like a lot of ideas. And I feel like there's an idea of wanting to set up kind of like a play, having play still in here. This love and marriage is all about balance. And so it's reminding that, yeah, as we get older and we get into adulthood, our priorities change, of course, but there's still that like spark of excitement that we can keep tapping into. So there's something with that coming through, which is interesting. So let's take a look. You've got Buffalo, be thankful for all you have. I think this is where this love and marriage kind of energy is, that balance energy. This be thankful for what you have obviously is about gratitude, and gratitude is, you know, thankful for what you can create, what you can do. Helps you get out of negative thinking too, out of negative mindset. Instead of I don't have this person has this, comparison, all that kind of stuff. So this is a great practice. It might be like, oh yeah, roll your eyes type thing. People don't know what I've been through. How can I be grateful for everything? And it's not about dismissing or saying all that stuff didn't happen, but there are good things happening, right? Being able to cook your own food, use a toilet, have a shelter or house. You know, not everyone has these things that we take for granted, honestly, in our life. So it's a nice one to come through and start off with. It's like, you know, there are good things in your life in this moment. So it's about just recognizing that and shifting your perspective into, I guess, into honesty, instead of just the mind creating up stories. Our minds do create up a lot of stories. I mean, I get it as well. I understand this, where this is coming from. Our mind can be like, this isn't good enough, or if this happens, then this will happen, then this will happen, then this will happen. And we've created up pretty much a story to the end of our lives that may or may not even happen, right? It's probably not going to be 100% exactly what you think things could be. It might be on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So then you've burnt out your mind thinking about something that's not going to come to fruition anyway. You've got restraint, play within the rules. I do like this one. I'll flip this one because this one wants to come, and then I'll talk about this. You've got the clunker, broken, and beautiful. It's a really nice card. The clunker card is someone, this isn't always, but it feels like in this reading, it's someone who feels like they're beyond repair, and they don't want to deal with certain things. I think this is a good time to deal with certain things that roll around in the head and roll around in the mind. Play within the rules, the restraint. This is about, being kind to yourself as well as being real with yourself. So it's kind of like step-by-step process. Okay, so I keep thinking about a certain ex or some kind of abuse or something like that keeps repeating in the mind, and that would probably play into last week's reading around the emotions as well. You may have had or want to check on that one, check on that pile if you haven't already, just if you feel called to it. Of course, I'm not saying you should watch all the videos. Watch whatever ones speak to you. This one's just coming through, this message is coming through with like, maybe you want to check that too, because they do play on each other, and we can start, that's why we feel certain things that we've created in our mind, whether they're happening or not, which is why, storytelling is really powerful, because it starts to break into our imagination, and we can read books or watch movies, those things, unless they're autobiographies or based on real stories, right? They're not real. That's not actually happening, but we can feel emotionally attached to characters and that kind of thing. And I think this is just really saying, start to have boundaries with your mind. Like when it starts going up past a certain point, then it's time to, okay, that's not actually happening right now, and pull it back into the now. And then that way you can see that some of the challenges and things like that have played with our heads, and we can feel like we're messed up. You're not actually broken, right? You're still here. Broken is, I don't know, I don't even think even once you pass, right, it's not broken. It's just that cycle or that particular incarnation is complete in whatever way it's completed in, and then you go through, depending on what you believe, like a review. But anywho, you're not there yet because you're watching this video. And so it's really, 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 really saying, being real in the moment, checking in with what's actually happening and how you're thinking and feeling. Okay, I think I just got my internet back, so that's good. Now I can upload this video. The internet was out for a while. You've also got the apprentice, paintbrush, making magic, artistic, and studious. Trying to find a spot where it's not blurry. Sorry, can't get that one. And you've also got the cherub and Metatron's cube with angel guides, love, harmony. You're getting so much like love energy. I'm going to be real with you. Your energy is pure love, right? And when it is that, when you're out, I want to say you're not self, there's yourself and you're not self, let's say. So maybe you're light and your shadow, but I'd prefer to say you're self, you're not self, and yourself. So when you're in your self, it's kind of like, things are flowing. When problems come up, you're able to deal with them. And when you're in your not self, certain little things can just trigger a whole lot of like drama or explosion or just like ideas, right? And you might not be like blowing up at someone or yelling at something, but in the mind, it could be like very chaotic or tumultuous, whether you say something or not. Sometimes people that blow up and actually say stuff can get it out at least quicker, but not all of us are like that, right? Including myself. So we'll hold things in and then it'll just roll and roll and roll until we kind of like release it slowly, or however, you do it. But look, you've got apprentice and paintbrush. This is all about learning and growing. no matter what age you are, you still learn and grow. You've got very good support. This feels like one of your guides. Someone here has like, I don't know, maybe like a Native American guide, or maybe even just like an animal guide, because that just feels like a classic guide who's like, I don't know, it's funny. It's kind of like the guide who's stern but follows the rules, right? And that's why I think your guides are also like, play within the rules, don't go too far out of the line, especially when we're diving into the mind, because you don't want to, you're not going in there to re-trauma yourself or constantly focus on something that's painful, right? It's really there to be like, okay, I recognize this, and now this is impacting this part of my life. So you are kind of thinking about it logically, and then you're like, okay, how do I release this? Do I speak to someone? Do I get a professional? What do I do? And then you can start at least working and trying to heal it. And that can be done with, like, here, think outside the square, or think outside the box. You can express yourself through artwork, music, right? A lot of the musicians will speak about past relationships and pain, or like breakups and stuff, right? Taylor Swift, breakups and all that kind of stuff. That's her thing. And she's kind of made a career out of it. And it's a way of release. So yeah, these are very interesting ones. It's very, it's funny, it's very thoughtful, right? This is a very like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on. And whether it's very little at all, like when I mean like that, whether it's some small stuff, a whole bunch of little things, because a whole bunch of little things can create a big thing, then it's like, okay, this is this part of this part of that. Whether it's a big kind of heavy thing from the past, or even from recent past, right? Whatever's going through, that you've gone through or going through, then it's recognizing what aspects you want to tackle first. How does this play into my life at this moment where I need to maybe move things through? So you may not be even, potentially you may have like overcome a lot of this stuff. This might be just about clearing the house or cleaning house, and gratitude to whatever comes through. Even after the pain and difficulties, you've become who you are and you're more confident in who you are, right? So don't take this reading as like there's more work to be done. Potentially there's not. There might be a time of like rest and relaxation, or a time of just like, okay, let's go with the flow for a while, and then whatever comes up, we'll work through that if need be. So appreciation for yourself and what you've got is a good one to sit into if you're not going through like a whole lot of like crazy ideas, or maybe you just like certain things pop up from different times. I have things pop up occasionally where I felt like I probably could have done better, or said something nicer or whatever to someone, and it might be from 10 years ago and the person doesn't even care, but it keeps popping up, right? So what is that trying to tell me? Where does that trace back to? And it could be some random other pain which was like ancient, and I'm like, I got over that ages ago. And then you close that down kind of mentally, right? Or in your mind. And then you go back to the point where, transgression has occurred, and then you close that mentally, and then that's it. And that's all it was. And you're like, well, why was that? Why? Don't overthink it. Sometimes it just happens. It's like, oh, okay, I really didn't have to like go that far or go that deep. Wasn't that deep, or I didn't really need to hold on to that. But at least now I've identified it, I know what it is, and now I've started to release it. So it could be something like that, or this could be, like I said, something quite significant, and it's not about diving straight into it. It's about identifying the parts that you want to work with, or like start to let go of. Even if it's self-forgiveness, right, for holding on to it. Forgiveness for the other person, it's all personal, right? You can't just be like, well, these people say this. You're on your own personal journey. You're on your own journey with spirit. So this is guided by your guides, but it's your choice what you do with this information. Okay. Got the Princess of Discs again. Really ties into this apprentice. She's learning her art, I guess. This could be something new for you, whether you're a new or old soul. this could be a path or a learning that you haven't really tackled before, or you have tackled a long time ago, like a very early life. And so it's coming back up in a way that is going to be obviously one different, because past lives and this life, no matter what, even if you're learning exact same lessons, it's going to be different. But it might be touching back into something you've processed in the past, whether you thought you did well or not in the review afterlife. It doesn't matter too much. It's just like, this is kind of like an opportunity to clear or overcome something. So like I said, even if it's not feeling like it's something from the past, but you still have certain ideas or things pop up, could be from a past life, right? This really honestly could be from a past life. That doesn't mean it's like, oh, okay, it's past life's problem now. Don't have to like take on the issue, like find out what the issue is and be like, oh, now I have to live that. It's like, no, you've already lived that. This is about just identifying the feeling or the thought and cleansing, I guess, like letting it go, because it's like, well, this isn't even from this life. I've got enough stuff going on in this life. I don't need a past life's energy attaching, right? It's okay to let that be. So just so you know, you're learning and growing, and being open is going to be so good, especially right next to the 4, which can be quite closed, right? Is like super open, where you go, let's say, into a chat room and just blurt out everything. You've probably seen those times where people go and blurt out a whole lot of stuff, and it's just not the environment. It's not a safe environment too, because it's like, this is an environment just for you to just let go. This could be like, I don't know, talking about raising children, right? And you're talking about something completely different where you just blurt it all out. It's not going to be helpful to you, and it's probably not going to be helpful to the people around, because they're not really in that place. So it's like time and place, and then closed off would be just not being open to any of these kind of like discussions. Wherever you sit is up to you, and you can always shift it. That's why I'm like, it's up to you. You might be sitting in one place today, tomorrow you can be sitting over here, and that's fine as long as you're aware of where you're going and why you're making those movements in that direction. Okay. So you've got the Death card. Yeah, it really does kind of tie into a past life, like with this Death card as well. So take that with a grain of salt, of course, if you're not really into past lives. See, this is definitely something you can overcome and move through. But like this guy here is kind of like sitting with all these bones, right? You can't just like bust out immediately without rattling some of the bones. Kind of like take a look, take an honest review of the thoughts and feelings going through your mind. This really might, again, tie into the last reading that you had from me with the emotions, or you might have got a different reading from a different reader on YouTube or wherever you watch tarot readings, and they may have touched on this as well. So this could be a really good supplement to theirs, or vice versa. You know, just take what resonates, is what I'm saying. Okay. So you've got the 3 of Cups. I really like this. This is so your guides. These are all your guides. It's kind of interesting because they're so compassionate. Like this kindness is this energy, this guide. That's why I was like, the guide from this one, this kind of like buffalo guide, just really feels like a guide who is who got like straight A's at, I don't know, guide university in the spirit realm, and is taking it very, very logically, right? They're probably the guide that helps with the mind, and they're taking it very logically, which is super funny the way it's coming through. But they're just reminding you, you're really not broken at all. Nothing really breaks. Certain things happen which can feel like it breaks you, right? But you're not broken. The feeling can be there, but the truth is you're still you, and your sovereignty is getting back those parts of you that have been mistreated or felt like they've been left in the past. Can always get the parts of you that you want back. Takes a lot of work, of course, but better that than sitting and hoping it just changes. So we've got some friendly faces here. Again, this feels like guides. I'm just going to say it just feels like inner child and guides. This is about celebrating who you are, your growth, and how far you've come. I think that really reminds you of like progress, of real progress. So nice energy there. You've also got 8 of Pentacles, like I said, doing the work. Like I'm sure this is like, this reading down here is like either an angel guide or like a, you know, it could be any kind of guide, but it's just like some guide here is like, I'm putting in the effort and doing the work just as much as you are. So when you feel like you need a break, that gives us a break too. So don't feel bad when you're not progressing or feel like you're not. Stay out of that negative mindset because you're doing the work and you're learning mastery in this particular skill, whatever this is for you in this lifetime. Yeah, you're like mastering and learning, right? Consistently in this world, growing and learning. And the earth here is like earth. There's a lot of grounded energy, which does feel like logic, even though it's not swords. It just feels like basing things off reality. Basing things off facts is going to be really important here with the mind. It's like, well, this did happen and this happened, right? And this led to this. So you can see a clear kind of pattern. If you can start to understand the patterns, you can understand how to break and cut cords and start to live more harmoniously and free. Right, so we've got the 7 of Cups, kind of a very fiery looking 7 of Cups. I haven't really noticed the background with the splashes. Kind of feels like putting light to the shadow, right? It's kind of like this is the shadow world, and once you hold a torch up to it or a light, you start to see the truth of what it is and what it means to you. Again, more cups. I got a couple of cups, which again just keeps reminding me of like, this is about emotions and mind. This isn't just about mind, even though the intentions are here. So it really might play into last week's reading as well. I'll try not to bring that up again. It's just what comes through. But 7 of Cups, choices, making decisions. This is procrastination. This is deciding where I need to put my energy. Think about this too. Where is it important? Where are you burning a lot of mind energy, emotional energy, heart energy? That'll help you, guide you. So I just want to pull maybe a couple of cards. I'm sitting with this energy and it does feel good. The Death card really helps with clearing, right? Death card's all about transformation, and what's constant? Transformation. Everything's always evolving and changing. I remember meeting up with a friend from high school, and it was like, I don't know, it was probably like 4 years after, and so we were chatting, and I think she was really shocked that I wasn't exactly the same, because we both grew up in a small town, and so she had gone on to, you know, marry and get with someone who was from school. And so she was still kind of in that mindset, which was interesting. She was talking about a group of other people who were like living together, who were from school, and they're kind of like more. And she was like, oh, they didn't really like, they're still doing the same thing. And I'm like, well, you kind of are too, in a way. And so it was interesting. I didn't say that to her. It was kind of like a interesting catch up. And then it was like, yeah, I think we're kind of like finished, right? We've kind of done what we were here to do, like we enjoyed each other's company as children or as teenagers, and now we're just older and just we don't really vibe anymore. So that's why I'm saying this is a constant evolution, a constant growth. So your mind might be, you'll always be stuck with this thing, you'll always feel like clunker here, but you're not always going to be feeling that way. There is a path, and just because you don't see it, to the other side where you don't hold on to this these thoughts or those whatever races around in your head. Just because you can't see a path doesn't mean there isn't a path. There always 100% is. So I guess we're just going to pull some cards and I'll see what comes through. It's going to try to base it on something, but I just want to see what the cards want to say. You've got the miracle worker with the grimoire. So a miracle worker is someone who's able to do magic, right? They're able to, not just like witchcraft or something like that. I mean, like, they're able to turn lemons into lemonade. They're able to turn a bad situation to a good one. They're able to turn like a good situation to even a better situation, right? They're kind of like that kind of miracle worker. And the grimoire with this particular miracle worker is someone who is going into old stories or books. So you actually might be able to do a meditation, like a past life regression type meditation if you want to. This is just if you want to. These are just ideas. Maybe even the meditation, I've done one, I can speak through experience because I've done ones where I've looked into a past life to clear something, and at the time I didn't feel like it worked, but when I look back now, it definitely did, because it started to create a pathway where I could break that down and clear it. And also another meditation, which was like finding a root cause of a particular issue. I was wondering why I kept thinking this thing, and it was really annoying. And it went back to where pretty much it was like a childhood thing. I don't even know if it was, I don't even remember it, but it popped up and I could visually see it. So I'm guessing it was a memory, but who knows? And it was me talking and not feeling heard, and not feeling heard in that particular one moment. And so I had to kind of like reach down and pull this like younger version of me out of the shadow, because it didn't even belong there. There was no reason for it that to hold on to that thought or memory. It was just like I was speaking, didn't feel heard, and then held on to that and just kind of like dropped that part of myself, which was really sad but really interesting at the same time. And then once we kind of like pulled him out of the shadow into the light, it was much easier to work with him. Which I'm saying him like it's separate from me, but it was just like, you know, integrate that aspect back into me, which was a fun aspect and like a, you know, a caring aspect. So it was good. So maybe that's where I'm coming from with this message. Lovely. Take your time. Like, again, be thankful for what you have. Be grateful for yourself too. You reap the rewards of the efforts you put in. You'll be able to do this. You may be very like connected with spirit or your guides, because your guides are so brazenly coming through here. You're able to connect with them and get the results, get the fruits of your efforts. Just so you know, you can't stress enough that you are able to do this. You're able to get past whatever this is. And even if there's not a lot, but there's just little things, you've done a lot to get to here. So let that be a good lesson of like, I can do many things, or anything really. Anything that I really feel is I'm called to. Oh, such an interesting reading. Yeah, and I guess again we're left with like, so where do you go from here, right? Are you able to trust the path ahead may not be known, or how to actually complete this journey, but know that where you're going is where you need to be, because today you're choosing thoughts and steps that will lead to sovereignty or empowerment, right? Using the words that I've kind of like kept close, but this is all up to you. Sometimes you don't get to know what's going to happen, but you know what you're doing now is right, and that's the real basis of faith and belief in my mind, is not knowing, but trusting in yourself, trusting in the decisions and the goodness in you, especially like the kindness, the good energy that you have and you are. So really light energy coming through. Either you are have kind of like a lot of angel guides or like angelic souls around, or you are one, right? Regardless, it's like, or even not, that's okay. It's like, regardless, there's a lot of good energy that can come through with whatever's shifted in the outside recently or in the past, or you know, whatever you're holding on to. This is just to show that things will always change consistently, but you can be putting your best foot forward by trusting and believing in your yourself. Okay, so interesting one here. A lot of curious energy, let's say, especially here, being able to shine light on the shadows. And that's how you see it, right? You can't see a shadow exactly if you're looking in the dark. It doesn't really show an outline of a shadow. Once you shine a light, you can definitely see a shadow. So it's really like about shining a light, making a decision, making a choice, and moving forward. I think that's all for you, pile number one. This is a really interesting reading. I know it kind of chopped and changed between people who are going through many different challenges or some who are going through very, not easy, but just like different. Like it's just different, right? We're not comparing journeys. Wherever you're sitting, whether you're through a lot of this or wanting to start to look at it in one particular area because you've gone through this in other areas, it doesn't matter. It's not about judgment. It's just about where do you feel this will assist you, this reading will assist you in this moment today, whenever you're watching this. Because that's the true power of it. Okay, I'm going to leave you there. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. Like I said during the reading also, the internet got reconnected, right, during your reading. So it is kind of like plugging yourself back in, plugging this energy back in. Whatever comes from it, it's going to be... you know, empowering, beautiful, and you'll really start to see the fruits of the work and effort you put into this. So anyway, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next reading. Hello, welcome pile 2 to your reading. Right, so your message or reading about remaining sovereign in your thoughts. We're really focusing on the imagination and the mind. I picked up that the cards that I've picked are all really kind of touching on the mental side of life, like the, you know, the mind side of life, not the mental, but mental. Anyway, because this deck here is the Children's Animal Spirit, which is created by a psychologist or someone with this, who is it? Dr. Stephen Farmer, right? So it really does touch into kind of like laying down the foundations of like, I guess, having a relationship with your mind, right? We really don't really get that kind of like teaching or groundwork, or if it is, it's more subtle and integrated in other things. But this is really like having a good relationship or connection with the mind. And then we're touching on imagination a lot because we've got these two decks, which I wasn't necessarily trying to like consider will this be the best one. I kind of go with intuition and grab. And so this one's my deck, which is created with my own imagination, right? My own intuition. And this one's a friend's who's created with, he's created a game and also these cards through his intuition and mind as well. And then we've got Anime Tarot, which is animation, right? So it's imagination as well. So there's a lot of that kind of energy coming through. This one's you have chosen is Citrine with wealth enhanced career prospects, self-esteem, and manifestation. So it does feel like, with it being yellow, kind of like the identification of who you are, right? This like, whether it can be like labels, certain labels or no labels, right? It doesn't really matter too much with that. It's more talking about like, how do you see yourself and where do you see yourself? It's almost like with the career thing. Where do you see yourself in 5 years type question, right? I mean, that's definitely not what I was touching on, but it's kind of popped up in my head. Kind of like, where are you progressing as a soul? And I think that's going to be part of this reading. So interesting. We'll see how this goes. I want to see what message they have to say now, because that is not where I was intending any reads to go to. But it looks like we're looking at prospects. I was more hoping this would touch on self-esteem, and I feel like it will, because when we know ourselves, right, we have a better understanding of where we're going and why we're going in the direction we're going in. I'll flip these now. Whoop, 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 whoop. You got this card is left unintentionally blank. This is the blank card. Open canvas. And you've got butterfly. Big changes are happening. I wonder if you're getting a different reading. We'll see what comes through. I'm going to pull it back into line. Oh, this is so cute. I love Fufta. Fufta is one of my favorite characters in this game. But this is compassion, open mind, kind heart. Open mind, open. Yeah, open mind, kind heart. I think beautiful things are starting to open up for you with either what you've already cleared or what you're currently working on from a mind perspective. You might not even have to deal with something that is heavy, right? Or you need to dredge up something from the past. Even if something did happen, you might have already, or you might be able to work through it without thinking about it. I don't know how that works, but I guess it's like constantly progressing through life. Like, let's say you were neglected by certain parents in the past, right? Or they were harsh. It's like every time you aren't like that, you decide to be like, you do the opposite of how you were kind of treated, or you do better, and it kind of clicks into your mind that you're doing it, but without spending like, you know, days, hours, or even seconds, like split second, right? Thinking about it, you kind of are seeing the healing that you're doing in the moment without having to actually go back, dig up something to be released, right? It's just like every day I'm doing better and better, and I'm being better and better for myself and for the people around me. That's the true kind of like power. And so this leaving it blank is kind of like leaving it open, not clearing out the mind and having it empty, but having it I don't know what to say, having it free for whatever comes through, and not judging or criticizing it, especially if you were judged and criticized in the past, right? It's kind of like now's the time of great shifts. Ooh, okay. Card wants to fly around. Ooh, look at that. You've got the Savior and Dandelion. This is hidden power, gentle, and attraction. So you attract what you kind of resonate with, right? If you're focusing constantly on negative energy, even if you're not negative, you kind of like buy into that's what your future or your surrounding is full of, is negative energy. And so this is showing like the opposite, right? It really does align with Fufta. The Savior here has kind of come to the planet with the idea of not exactly saving people, like going out and saving them, right? Like a hero or something like that. He's here to kind of like just be. So you're here to just be yourself, and that's where the hidden powers start to come through. The true sense of who you are. You start to feel that without having to try to be yourself. You just be yourself. All right, does it make sense? Or trying to be someone else, or trying to match the Joneses or whatever they say for the neighbors. You know what I mean? Like keeping up with the Joneses. Is that the saying? I can't remember. It's an old kind of like, reminds me of like the 60s, 50s kind of mentality of lawn has to be cut a certain height and white picket fence and everyone acts happy. This is about actually just being, not about trying to act happy or act this or smile. You know, people commenting on other people's photos. Oh, they're smiling in this one. That means they must be happy. But you don't know that, right? Just because someone shows an expression on the outside doesn't mean you know what's happening on the inside. You can catch someone at a bus stop waiting for the bus, not even thinking, and they might look sad, but you don't know if they're sad. They might be just in thought. They might be just doing something. So this is about real like feeling rather than projected or supposed or assumed. What a curious reading. Okay. Yeah, I think you've worked through, or you understand what is holding you in place, or what holds you. Whether it's like I said, whether it's an idea from the past, or if it's like, I don't know, it just feels like you're already on the path of sovereignty with your mind. It's not over the mind, it feels like it's like understanding where your thoughts and feelings come from. The golem and the chala is creation, control, and consumption, right? You know what is right for you. You know what is good for you. That doesn't mean just because you know that you do, but it's better to know than to just kind of go blindly, right? This is very much in sovereign, in your sovereign energy. What an interesting one. And the wealth here isn't just talking about money. It's like understanding that you'd rather have a comprehension of who you are and where you're going, and like trust in yourself, right? Than to have any monetary value. Like that's way worth more than a house or something, although that would be nice. This is really touching on what's real and true. So interesting cards coming through. Well, let's see what else they want to say to this, because I don't know how to do this reading exactly, if it's going to touch on here. Okay, so we've got the Five of Cups, got the King of Cups. The Five of Cups was also reversed, which to me, you know, when it's kind of reversed, touches on the extremes, it's like now's a good time to leave that behind, that loss, that grief, and move forward. Like this is a great time for that. Or it's like the opposite end is like not wanting to leave this. I mean, it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like this is more of something that's shifting and changing. You're being able to learn what emotional strength is. Emotions are generally seen, especially growing up, especially if you're male, you know, or whatever your personal situation, not just trying to like bunch it all up, but whatever your personal situation is, real strength is like emotional maturity is huge, right? Is huge. When we're emotional or have sovereignty over our emotions, even though this is like mind, they play with each other. They're one and the same at times, right? And sometimes it is just the mind and then just the emotions, but generally they'll have a placehold in both. But when we get to this emotional maturity, we really understand like what's worth our time. Do I get triggered and pulled into conversations, arguments that I really have no business needing to waste my time with? So you get to the point of just enjoying. It's kind of like what people see, older people, they just like are carefree. It's because they've kind of already wasted enough time, right, of their life worrying about things that probably haven't mattered and probably don't matter. So it's really like a time of growth. Got the Princess of Swords as well coming through. The Princess of Swords is probably the perfect card for this reading, especially being that it's the princess, not the page, because the princess is someone who is mastering the art of their mind, or the art of air, right? If you were talking about like elements, like the energy of air. If you've ever seen like Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know, the way he kind of like Aang came through was kind of like the playful energy as well, like the fun kind of playful energy, or the playful side of his craft, or what, you know, his bending abilities, but being very kind of masterful with it, right? Trying to break through some of the limitations, but also having structure. So it's kind of like trying to play with it, and that's kind of where she comes in. It's kind of like playing with it, trying to like push limits and boundaries and see how far you can kind of like stretch the mind, because that expands opportunities into well, maybe even career. Might create like opportunities into career, but also into just what you're actually capable of imagining, and not seeing imagination or anything as illogical or waste of time. Because, you know, when people, or I don't know how it works in movies, but when movie directors and creators, whatever, put an idea out there, it can start to expand. Maybe that doesn't actually do it, but the roll-on effect can lead to other things. Like if we think of Star Wars, right? There's a roll-on effect of like other movies and stuff that kind of like has hitched a ride, or like got inspiration from. So you can start to spark inspiration. You don't have to be a teacher or a leader or anything like that. You can spark inspiration by just being you, and that feeds into the collective. It's like, oh, if that person's able to be them, you know, this is all subconscious or in the astral, then I can be who I am. And that's very true and very real. It's kind of rude, but it's kind of funny. You got the Aeon here. The Aeon to me is, well, this is just the Judgment card. So it's kind of like coming to an appreciation or an understanding, breaking out of old molds. And that's why I'm like, you've already kind of overcome some stuff. These big changes feel really good. And the aeons is like an aha moment, or reflecting on things and realizing why certain things happened, or maybe I don't know why certain things happened, but they did, but I've overcome it and I've become a better person for it. I know where I'm headed. I know the importance of being centered and grounded in my emotions and my thoughts. I don't judge why I feel this way or why my mind's going off. I'm starting to appreciate it as like a warning system, or as like just past pains that I need to process or push, no, not push, but put to the side for now, right? You might be in the shopping center, you don't want to start doing shadow work in the shopping center, right? You want to like go home and then go, okay, why did I think about that? Why did I get upset at this person? Why did that interaction happen in this moment? What was it trying to tell me, right? It's kind of like doing your review at the end of each day to center, ground, and then let go, and that clears you up for the next day. You've got the Five of Swords. It kind of feels like overcoming the need to be like right, or the need to feel like there's someone wins and someone loses. If you forgive yourself for you know, introducing someone into your life who wasn't nice, right? Or putting up with someone who wasn't great. That doesn't mean you forgive them for their indiscretions, but you're no longer going to hold onto that anger or pain, because that just leads to you losing, right? So if you think you lose by forgiving someone, for example, who's it hurting, right? Where's the pain coming from or going to? It's not to them, because they may not even be thinking about it. It's really on you to look at and decide what you want to do with. So this is kind of like learning that there is no win-loss in truth. There's just learning and not learning, growing and not growing, transforming and not transforming. So it's not like a black and white or good or bad exactly like that, but you can kind of see where that's coming from. And that's kind of what the Five of Swords is, right? One person loses, I win, I get all the prize. And while that may seem like our world, I think our world's changing, and you're part of it as well, because you've already done some of the transformative energy, right? You've changed a lot. Yeah, you're breaking out of the system, it feels, with this card. So we've got the Devil card, and it's interesting, right? He's got one chain, it's connected to this male and female, kind of like the masculine, feminine. But again, you're kind of breaking through the illusion. She's got a sword ready to kind of like stab through this. It's a really nice energy. I know that the Devil card probably doesn't always paint like a pretty picture, but really the Devil card's just about belief in something that's not true. I can't get out of this. I can't do this. That's not possible for someone like me from where I came from, because I don't have this, or I didn't get that at the beginning, so obviously I can't have a good life ever. You know, those kind of things, and people will out there believe and think that. So you may even assist with other people at some stage with clearing out some of their energy. That's why I'm like, do you have to speak? I don't think you have to do like a speech or like anything like that for anyone. You're doing it for yourself to release, to let go, to not get stuck in the head, right? To get mindfully like caught up in win-loss scenarios. If someone does this to me, I need to do that to them. Someone hurts, then goes on the next one and they get them back, and it turns into like tit for tat and just keeps going, and no one really wins. It just perpetuates a cycle of revenge, right? And that's never really helpful. I just want to see if there's much else to say. But sit in with this energy. How can you be more heart-centered for yourself and for the people around you? And heart-centered doesn't mean you turn into a doormat, right? This is really about being open and unconditional with the love for yourself, and even potentially for people who have kind of like wronged you, right? That's probably way down the track, especially if it's real hard. But there is an opportunity to kind of like be like, well, I don't appreciate what you've done. I'm not going to hold on to it because it's impacting me and it doesn't heal me or help anything, doesn't set my vibration, it just lowers it. So I'm happy to release it with hope that the lessons are learnt from this without me having to play any kind of like game. You know, this kind of feels like a game and it's like just keeps you stuck. So you don't have to do that. You've already kind of like mastered something. While it may have been difficult, it's helped build emotional growth and maturity. So an interesting one. I think I just want to pull one more card. So what do you do with this information? Because it's such a like big energy. I mean, that's why it's open, because it's like how you deal with this is up to you. This is, if you're chosen this power, you have a very it's more of like you're custom building this process of how to remain sovereign or how to continue being sovereign in your own mind and emotions. Nice. Uninhibited intuition. Uninhibited, what is it? Yeah, uninhibited. Uninhibited intuition with poetry. I really like this card. It's just about like, kind of like, you know, the saying of poetry in motion. It's kind of like just living and being. You don't have to do anything, you just have to be. That's it. There's no further thing you need to like have to do. It's really like you've kind of come to a point. You may have actually completed a certain part of your soul's journey, or you're so close to finishing that they're like, okay, the rest is up to you, and like you can really build such a curious life that you want to live, right? Without must-dos or desires or have-tos. It's just like, this is naturally part of where I feel called to, so I'm going to start shifting or moving in that direction. But it'll feel like a flow rather than, oh, I have to do this, or I haven't done enough of this. You might actually be pretty good with what you've done, and everything else that will come through will be still lessons and learning, right? Or opportunities of growth, if you want to call it that. But it's just going to be more free, and intuition is like, you know, trusting and belief and faith in yourself. I think that's going to be the real key to remaining sovereign in your mind and thoughts. So really, really, really pretty reading. I think we're going to leave that there since my throat's about to go to. So I'm just going to leave that there. Thank you for letting me read for you today, Pile 2. It's really nice reading. Hopefully this helps in some way. Whatever's coming through is up to you. This isn't something that's like, oh, I have to do anything. If you're in a good place, remain there, improve it, change it if you want to, do whatever you need. You know, it's up to you. You're kind of good. You're good. There's nothing that needs to hold you back, or you might even start to see society and people where they're kind of like holding themselves back, and you got an option to decide whether you go in and kind of assist in some way, or just leave it. Like, it's not your responsibility. You're responsible for yourself and obviously dependents, right? But like at a point, even children, if you have children that are in their like 20s, it's up to them to make their own choices and stuff like that. So you kind of just let things be and be open to whatever information they want to bring through. Like if you do have children, let's say you had like a hard time with them, or you haven't talked for a while, just be open and see when they want to kind of like interact or come back or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you for letting me read for you today, Pile 2. Really interesting reading. I'll leave this with you, but take care and I'll see you next time. Hello, hello. Welcome in pile number 3. So you've chosen the Lapis Lazuli with prophetic dreams, releasing anger, serenity, and grace. So we'll see how this plays into your reading today. Really beautiful crystal. There was something I was going to say. The releasing anger is kind of interesting, right? We're talking about how to stay sovereign, and fire, too much fire can kind of burn us out, but also enrages us, right? Gets us like kind of worked up. We'll see how that plays into this reading. Also, I just wanted to let you know these cards that have been selected, I didn't really think, right? I kind of intuitively grab cards and then do the readings. And we've chosen this deck, which is a friend's created a game and also created cards from it. So it's got that like imagination in there. These are my ones that I've created that's got imagination. These ones here are Children's Spirit Animal. It's created by like a PhD psychologist, I believe. And so that's kind of like got child wonder, inner child, right? Imagination. And then here we've got anime and kind of cartoon or animation is has a lot of like imagination, right? In it, right? It has like, they break boundaries that are kind of like difficult in the real world or anything like that. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that there's this idea of imagination and inner child energy with this reading as well. Perfect card for this reading. You've got the coyote with learn from your mistakes. Yep. This isn't about blaming yourself. This could be like, you could see it like this. This is one scenario. I got into a relationship with someone. At the time, I wasn't looking for red flags. And then when we got together for like a month or two, it started to be abusive, right? And then we separated. And you could have like anger, right? The releasing anger in here, or learning from your mistakes. It's okay to go through difficulty and challenges. On the other side, you've made it through, but learn from like what you allowed and also what the signs were, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, instead of focusing on, is this person's problem, this person, yeah, they're the ones that kind of were the narcissist, the horrible person, the rude person, whatever they did, the abusive person, right? But instead of putting blame and leaving it, it's not like you shift that blame to yourself. You kind of release blame, all blame, and just kind of see it as like, okay, well, I'm now out of that. Thank God, right? Thank whatever. Now it's time to like look at what lessons did I learn from this? What did I, even if it's stuff that I know I don't want. I don't want people who are nasty. What were the red flags? Oh, he kind of was rude to waiters and staff members or waitresses, whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. Those were the initial things that I kind of just let slide because it was just silly, because I was enamored by the person. I wasn't thinking clearly, right? So now when I'm going on dates and stuff like that, I'm going to really be in the moment, but also be mindful of what this person is saying, and not just the pretty cover this woman or man or whoever looks like. I'm going to really get to know the soul, or see if this is like a connection that I want to get involved with. So I feel like that's just coming through. That was probably long-winded, just from the coyote card, but you know, just like kids learn and make mistakes, right, with spelling mistakes and stuff like that. We don't string them up and lynch them if they've made a mistake, right? Well, hopefully not, but not anymore anyway. It shouldn't be happening. But anyway, we don't do that. We go, oh no, this is how you spell this word or something like that, and then, you know, try to teach them the craziness of English or whatever. Try to justify why this is that. It's because, I don't know, people made it up a long time ago and now this is just what we've got. Who knows, you know, whatever you want to say. But regardless, we kind of like just teach them, right? We just go, oh, this was where this happened, or okay, so you make this sound and blah, blah, blah. And same, you can do that even though it sounds childish, but you can do that with yourself, even in situations where it has been difficult. I just want to say though, that you're not kind of like releasing any of the pain or anything like that. You're really just trying to break it down so you can eventually release it, or let go of the need to hold on to something that's really clouding judgment or clouding your mind. Time to go on a little journey. You've got the inner guide from deep inside. This is Mr. Bobo. He's going on a journey of self-discovery, right? That's generally like the aspect of the inner guide, and you can see your guides instead of separate from yourself as part of you. And same with your higher self. It's not better than you. It's not above you exactly, even though it's like known as higher, right? It's just kind of like a more connected individual, because you can't be super connected at this time because it just doesn't work in this density, right? So it's kind of like you do have connection to your higher self, but the higher self kind of like has connections to all the lives that have kind of lived, so they have like easier access to many things, right? But anyway, it's like a self-discovery, not a search outside. You don't have to travel to different countries to find enlightenment, right? Enlightenment starts from within. And then we've got one for all. Ooh, what an interesting one. Maybe going on a really long path. I don't know what that means, but just with the cards that are coming through, the revolution's about demanding change, right? The French Revolution, when they got the kind of royalties and aristocrats and cut off their heads, right? They're just kind of sick of whatever was happening. And so it's such a big mind shift, right? Imagine if, I don't know, if the United States started to separate, right, into different formations. They'd still be like friendly, but they just kind of like decided that we're just going to work more independently than we have in the past. Certain states kind of clumping together or whatever. I don't know. Just as an example, that would be such a big shift that probably some people couldn't even imagine it, but it's not impossible, right? It's very much in the reality of what could happen, or what's possible. So this is kind of like starting to change something within the mindset that may have felt like that's not possible. I can't do that. You don't know what I've been through. I've tried many times and I just can't do it. You can absolutely do it. Yeah, it's interesting here. We've got the mother with the vampire ashes. So it's like something that still looms in the mind, that's still there. It's kind of like someone's passed, right? Or something's ended, like a relationship, or something's finished. And there's still this like energetic, like the vampire is kind of like energy kind of vampire, right? Or even an actual vampire, kind of like that draining energy. But here we've got, it says here, care, attached, and awareness. So there's something attached. You're still able to function in this world, but there's something that's kind of like needs that upheaval or needs to be overthrown. If this is in your day-to-day life, in your reality, then this is kind of like that wake-up call to look at that. If it's not, that's okay. If it's from the past, then, you know, this is still like, okay, cool. This is time to like really think about this and let this be, settle it in whatever way you feel is appropriate, because that's going to be different for everyone. You can do this through shadow work, you can do this through meditation or relaxation or going on holiday, right? Or you can do this through talking to a professional as well. For some reason this reminds me of the 80s. I think it's just the style. But we've got the unicorn and the flower of life. This is miracles, universe, and next dimension. Interesting, we're talking about the next dimension and revolution, right? So something's been overthrown that was probably not great and wasn't working, let's say. For some reason, it reminded me of the French Revolution, which I don't really know too much about, but I got enough of an idea of like, okay, they had kings and queens, they kind of axed them out, and then they formed whatever government they did afterwards. So yeah, because they don't really have that in France, right? They still have kings and queens in some of the other European countries, but they're more like celebrities now. So it's just like, this is a, anyway, going back to the actual part of it, it's like, it's a change, it's a shift. It's like here with the next dimension, you know how people talk about going into the new earth or then whatever, the fifth dimension, right? For example, that shift is like, well, here's the keys to the door, but you have to let go of your need for all this like material wealth, or you have to let go of this need for like revenge against this ex, or like, you know, whatever, this emotional attachment, this mental attachment, whatever it is. And it's like, ooh, I don't know if I want to give up that, but it's so hard to just do that. So yeah, this is an opportunity to clear it out, clear some of it out. and get into peace, like literally peace, serenity, grace. It's for your emotional well-being too. Got the Ace of Cups. Wow. There's like a song, I'm not listening to anything because I had the internet out most of today, and then when the first reading I was doing, it got reconnected because I can record, so it's no problem. But I didn't have any music playing. But the thing that's playing now is like, I'm still learning the art of love, right? So this could be love towards self, love towards others, self-care, self-love, because the Princess of Discs is kind of different in my mind to the Page, even though they represent kind of similar energies. But the Princess is mastering her own energy with Earth, the material, the physical. You're allowed to want the big car and big house and that kind of thing, but understanding why and what's the connection towards it, what does it mean, like that's the real growth and learning. Is like, why do I want this? Why do I feel like I need this in my life? What will that mean? What does it feel like? You know, that those kind of questions. Oh, look at that, the Ace of Wands. These are such powerful energies around this princess. There's like this passion, this emotional energy, right? There's a lot of like vibe and verve and love energy that's around that you can really tap into to clear a lot of this stuff. This is a good time to do it. There's no excuses, it feels. I mean, I'm sure as humans we can come up with them, but you're on a new journey. Got the Fool card, especially with this inner guide. And even here, the Kitsune in the background. Kitsunes can kind of be like mischievous, right? They can be a little bit, little mischievous. But in my mind, when I look at it, they're kind of like guides. They're kind of like inner light guides, guiding you towards what you need to see. And so we'll see it as mischievous if they lead us to something negative, right? But maybe we need to see that, because we're not looking at it within ourselves. And so by seeing it in the physical world, like someone yelling at a child, right? We can start to deal with the whatever we've yelled at. We feel that we're yelling at the inner child in ourselves, or a parent was yelling at us in the past and we kind of like hid that. You know what I mean? So they lead you to places, but you might think that they were trying to be nasty or something like that when really helping. So anyway, I don't know why that's popping up so much, but you're on a, I don't know, you're definitely on a journey of overcoming and learning and leaving the past behind. Yeah, you've got a choice here with this two of Swords. Again, I said this in another pile, but you're not going to know the path ahead. You're going to have trust and faith in yourself and your own personal self. And that's when you'll really understand or see it, is once you've already started to take a step towards that that dream or goal, whatever's important to you. That comes through your childlike imagination. It's okay to play with that. You don't have, even if you're older, right? You're allowed to have that inner child come through. Yeah, you'll start to see the benefits once you start working towards the path. That's just how it keeps coming through. The Aeon is coming to that aha moment. I get now why I need to go through that, or maybe I didn't need to go through that, but I now know that what I went through has led to now an understanding of my value, my worth, who I am as a person, what I want to do in the future, where I want to go, what part of me wants to be ignited, wants to be felt. Do I want to get back into the game of love and that kind of thing? Like all those kind of questions will come through, because the stuff around us is shifting always, right? The world around us, we could be going through a lot of challenge, and we might do that for 10 years. The world's changed around us. There's new buildings, there's new like schools, there's like new government, you know, whatever. There's lots of things that keep changing. So it's constantly, and everyone's going through it. Everyone's going through changes. No one kind of like, unless you're, you know, out in the middle of the rainforest or something in a little village, even then probably certain things still change. But like, then you're probably not watching this, right? It's all happening, it's all changing. So I just want to pull a couple of cards to see. I want to see what kind of benefits are coming through for you Feels like security and safety with the Four of Discs. It can be one who overspends or hoards, right? But it's like, this feels solid. This like, she's able to hold them all down. She's not jumping around. She can sit down and safely feel at peace or stable. Yeah, it looks like stability and wealth. That's pretty much what I'm getting from this one. Now this card kept popping up with the releasing anger. It may not be anger. It can formulate itself into different emotions, right? But it's coming from the mind, and when we can master or like understand where our thoughts are coming from, then our emotions get less impacted in shadowy or darker ways. But anyway, I'll stick with this one. The next shift that's kind of happening for you is giving you an opportunity to have everything you need, or feel like you have everything that you need in this moment. You might not have everything in the world, but no one has everything in the world, right? Not everyone can just go get everything, can have everything. Even like billionaires, they can have a lot of things, but they can't own the world, right? They can't physically just take everything. And that's because we don't need anything. There's enough here for everybody. And I feel like that's where you're headed to, is like to find stability, and even here maybe to start opening up to spending, or like to utilizing your energy or helping others, right? Whatever that looks like, or even to take some back in so you can find a more comfortable balance. So your energy or your funds or whatever is not being just like sent out there without really any regard or intention. It's like bringing back your energy to find balance and peace and growth and opportunity. Because it's got wheat here, and wheat is, you know, kind of like, it's to make flour and stuff like that. It's like very simple, right? But it feeds like nations, worlds, like, you know, those kind of staples. Like in Ireland it would be like potatoes, and throughout Asia it might be like rice, right? They're very simple, but all these ingredients, but they feed the world, right? They feed the masses. They're kind of a staple to health and growth. So I guess that's where you're really heading towards on this inner journey. You've got the inner journey, you've got the Fool. They're very much like intertwined with going on a path, a new you path type thing. It may not even be like a new you. It could be an old you coming back, right? It's just a part of you that's been either suppressed, lost, or sidelined, and so you're bringing that aspect back in, which will start to spark a lot of heart and passion, really. So it's interesting reading. Hopefully this helped you, pile number 3. Don't have too much else to say, but if you have any comments, let me know. Otherwise, take care of yourself. Thank you for letting me read for you, and I'll see you next time.